Hello, everybody. Good to see you. John Huber here from the Maryland Education Network. Day one of the great lock-in. Glad you could be with us. What's the deal with all these school closures? Are we going to have to make all this up? Is this work going to count? What's the deal? Stay tuned, and I've done a little digging, and I'm going to let you know what I found out. All right, folks, let's first of all start with what is the deal with all these state closures? The first thing you have to realize is that there's a lot of politics involved, and the politics go back to 2016. Take a look at my notes here. If you remember back in 2016, the governor declared or issued an executive order saying that all schools had to start after Labor Day. Some people liked it, some people didn't, and everyone kind of went with that. The legislature then comes along a few years later and passed their own version of the law, or passed their own law to kind of trump that and say that it's up to the local jurisdictions to decide when they're going to start and when they're going to end, etc., as long as they stay within the mandatory guidelines of the state. Then the governor tried to veto it. That was overrode, or they overrode the veto, so therefore now we're back to it's up to each local jurisdiction. Each jurisdiction, each county, Anne Arundel, Baltimore, Howard, etc., they all struggle with the ability to get all the required days in and still kind of make everybody happy. They want to start their days, after Labor Day in many cases, but they still want spring break. It appears that spring break is a lot more popular than starting before Labor Day is. So anyway, they kind of struggle with that. So along comes the current crisis, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, whatever your take on all that is. It's caused a real disruption in the school system. But the issue in this case is it's not like your typical school system shutdown where it starts from the county level. In your typical snow day scenario, Anne Arundel County decides, hey, it's a little too snowy out, we're not going to school today. That's decided by the local jurisdictions. And then they kind of play this little tug-of-war game with the state saying, hey, how are we going to make this up? And then the state, does their thing, say, well, you have to do this, and are you going to allow us to be waivered? You're going to waiver us for these 3 to 4 days or whatever. But this one's different. And what's different about this is it's coming from the state. The state essentially said everybody shut down for 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks as of now. So, are they going to have to make them up? Are they not? If you notice during the announcement when Dr. Simon said that these schools were going to close, she said they recommend that the local jurisdictions or the local counties use their spring break in order to use their spring break days in order to help make some of these up. There's just no way they're going to make them all up. And not only that, it would appear, I have no inside information or anything, but it looks like these may even go actually a little longer, but, we'll wait and see. So the bottom line is it all comes down to this, political game back and forth between the state. And in this case, the powers really rest with the counties because, they're shut down because the state told them to. So they're just going to kind of look at state and go, I know what he wants to do. So that's kind of where we are. So are these days going to be made up? I think, my personal opinion, you may see each jurisdiction come up with its own little plan, try and make some of them up as much as possible. But for the most part, I just don't see any rational scenario where they're going to be able to make all these days up. I think you're just going to have to write this year off to a major state of emergency and clean it up the best they can and move on. That's my opinion. So anyway, that's the whole deal with the state, with the closures. The fact is this time the closure came from the state and not each jurisdiction. So the states or the local jurisdictions really have the power in here. I did get a chance to look around at all the local jurisdictions, some of the counties, and see what they're doing about all this work that they've sent home. This is an interesting concept too because there's also the whole union piece. If you're saying to teachers, you don't come to work and you're not going to you don't come to work. But if they're also going to say, you know what, teachers need to be available, teachers need to respond, teachers need to grade online work, which I'll get to in a second, then the unions are probably going to say, well, hey, if you're going to make us work from home, that's fine. If we're able, we'll work from home. But then, we're going to count these days, and we're going to not take our spring break, and it gets into a whole nother level of confusion. So each county has kind of essentially sent home some work with the kids. Some of it is interesting. I looked at some of the jurisdictions. Anne Arundel County, for example, they use Google Classroom. I'm not terribly familiar with it. I poked around a little bit on it online. Looks like a pretty decent kind of thing. And I looked on they didn't really say anything on their website, but on their Facebook page they had some information about the pack. They sent packets home. That's anyone who's in education, all the great packets, those do a lot. They're not sure about what the story is, what their spring break is, and I can also tell you that none of these are going to count towards their grades. And I believe the reason is, I can't say for sure, but I believe the reason is because the teachers, they can't hold the teachers accountable to work and to grade this information while they're off. I could be wrong on that, but I get the sense in that. Howard County, their administrative and central office are working remotely, which means you can still contact them if you have any issues. They're out there supporting students doing home. They provided some general activities and guidelines for kids on school, some universal tasks, some content specific tasks. And again, not to be assessed or graded. I thought the stuff that Howard County sent home was pretty decent. I thought their information on their website was pretty good. Hartford County is a short little packet of information, short little piece of information on the website, which is kind of general in specifics. Baltimore County. Baltimore County is very prepared for this, and it was interesting watching their whole take on it. They've been using what's a program called Schoology. And Schoology is a very in-depth learning software package, web-based, where assignments are posted, students do assignments, grades are posted. It's very interactive. There's just all sorts of room in the software package for BCPS to be able to do just about everything they need to do. But they didn't quite go the full-fledged saying we're going to go strictly electronic, which they could have, and not exactly sure why. There's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. But I think that they were probably the most ready to do all this because every kid has a device, or most kids. Schoology's in place. Would not be much of a stretch for them to be able to do that. So, but they didn't. They did send home some work. They have some packets, that they've gave out at schools. Each teacher and each content area kind of provided some information. Plus, the county gave some information, etc. Same thing with Carroll County. They created a Google site, and they have some county resources, etc. And again, it's not graded as well. Baltimore City. They have asked, they used that word themselves, they asked teachers to prepare supplemental materials and pre-plan weekly lessons, and they're available to be picked up, hard copies to be picked up for students who don't have online access, and they have grade level learning, etc., grade level learning activities. So for the most part, and I'm sure there's a few counties out there I didn't mention, they're all pretty much in the same boat. They provided some general educational type of materials for students to do, some information for parents, but bottom line, shut down. Doors are closed. No one's coming, and no one's expected to do anything because they're not going to grade anything. It's not going to count. The high schools are the ones that really you start questioning about what about graduation requirements, what about all the testing, the state testing that's coming. Those are just lots and lots of questions that need to be answered. But as of now, basically everything is shut down. It's just like one long snow, like a big giant snowstorm that's going to last for a couple of weeks. We'll wait and see how it plays out, but I will try and keep you informed and please put some comments in. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to look up, because I got time on my hands. Anyway, good to see you. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day.